welcome to my channel. My name is Dylan Knight, birth name Michael Joel Davis, and just a quick fact on Martin Luther King Jr. and something I just learned today was that his name was actually Michael King. He was born Michael King. His father went overseas, learned more about Martin Luther, and then when he came back over, he decided to change not only his name but his son's name to Martin Luther, which gave him Martin Luther King Jr. So that's a very interesting thing, that his name was actually Michael King. He was born Michael King, and I think his name was changed when he was 5. So that's a pretty interesting little fact right off the bat there. Put links in the description below to some really good Dr. Martin Luther King videos talking about the man himself. There's some really good films out there. One of my favorite films of Martin Luther King is Selma. If you haven't seen Selma, check that out. It's a story that nobody really knows about, and I learned about it from the topic of this video, which is the Black History Museum. And it's at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. And I was lucky enough to go with my mother and my brother to Memphis, Tennessee in August of 2017 as a little small getaway vacation that we did. It's one of the best museums I've ever been to, hands down. I'm not saying that because of the color of my skin. I'm saying that because it's a great museum. It is built into the Lorraine Motel. And if you've never been to Lorraine Motel, if you've never seen it, I'm sure all of you have seen it, but I'm going to be sharing photos of my vacation there. And I took a lot of photos, including standing in between the rooms of the King party was staying at, including room 306. I got this hat from the gift shop there. I fell in love with this hat. And this hat basically says room 306 Lorraine Motel. But what's great about the hotel itself is that they actually turned the Lorraine Motel into the Black History Museum. From the outside, you can't even tell that there's a museum inside. It also extends across the street to the apartments where the killer was. He was killed by James Earl Ray on April 4th, 1968 at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. We all know that, and what's great about this museum is that it encompasses the other point of view of the killer, James Earl Ray, and the apartments he was at across the street. And what's cool about this museum is that it hits on other points of view other than just African Americans. All of the Caucasians that helped out, all of the different nonprofit organizations that helped out, all of the schools that tried to help out, all of the policemen that tried to help out, the political members, they're all represented in this museum. It's beautiful. The setups are gorgeous, and I'm gonna go ahead and start putting up some of the imagery on it so I can talk fully about each image and what it meant to the museum and what it means to society and history and why it's in the museum and why it's so important for everybody, in my opinion. That's a very, very good thing. So let's get into some of the images that I took, some of the photos that I took, and I'll do commentary over that before we get back into the closure of this video. I thought it'd be kind of interesting to bring in my mother and have a quick phone conversation about her experience with the Lorraine Motel, something she's been wanting to see her entire life. And not only that, just her general thoughts on civil rights and where it was when she was growing up and where it's at now. Let's get into that phone conversation right now. All right, we are on the phone with my beautiful mother, Helen Pearl Davis, and she was born in June 11th, 1950, so she grew up during the heat of the Civil Rights era, and she remembers the actual day Martin Luther King was killed by James Earl Ray on April 4th, 1968. Say hi, Mama.
Hello, everybody.
My mother is a very good friend of mine as well, even though she don't think that I am, right, Mama? But I'm just giving her crap. Can you tell everybody who's listening, do you remember what you were doing the moment you heard he was killed?
Yes, I can. I was a senior in high school, and I remember we were all in school that day, and a bunch of the kids didn't want to go to class because they had heard it earlier in the morning. I hadn't heard it until I got to the high school. And a bunch of the kids was was mad, and I didn't know why everybody was upset, and they didn't want to go to class that day. And my principal came around and said, "Okay, I want everyone to go to class. I know everybody is upset," and I asked the student what was going on, and they told me that Martin Luther King had got assassinated, and then I was so sad. I remember that day because we and that day and time, Martin Luther King was so important to us. That's what made us. He made us the way our generation is today, where we weren't afraid of anything or any situation because we listened to what Martin Luther King had to say, and we went solely by what he had to say. So we were so proud of him, and we were brave, and we went to a school where I didn't experience so much prejudice, but we went to a school where the black kids, we felt sometimes that we weren't represented like we should have, but we followed Martin Luther King's advice, and we held our head up high. We went to school every day, and we did basically what he told us to do. Just think of yourself as just as good as the white kids. No violence, but make yourself known and make your voice heard. And that's what we live by day. And we were never afraid. But that day, I think we all were afraid that day because we had lost, we thought in our little young minds, we had lost the very person that we thought, okay, this person is going to change everything for us and the future. And that very day when we found out that he was killed, I think we were more scared than anything. But we also, I remember we were crying. I remember that because we had truly lost someone that we truly loved and respected.
So how did you feel when we went? Because you remember when we went to the motel, we were kind of shocked. Remember, it was like the hotel was there, and just getting out of the car, you already felt emotional, and we hadn't even gotten out of the car yet. And you could see the wreath up there on the balcony, and we were like, "Where's the museum?" Because it's the Black History Museum, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I remember us being like, "What? Where's the museum?" We were
Right.
going inside,
Mm-hmm.
and we realized they turned the inside of the Lorraine Motel into a museum.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember we went through the museum, and they kind of led you through the whole story of Martin Luther King. And remember, we were walking through. We were like, well, we couldn't figure out how they're going to tie in the balcony to this. Are we going to be able to see it? Are we going
Right.
to see the room? We were thinking
Mm-hmm.
we're going to go through the room, and they gutted out the rooms, and they separated room 306 where he was at in the balcony. And why don't you tell them? I know how I felt. Remember, I went back like 3 times.
Right.
I just kept going back.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe I was that close.
Yeah.
But how did that room make you feel?
Well, I had I've always wanted to go to see the Lorraine Hotel, and I thought I even asked you. You know what I mean? I didn't think it was going to be like that either.
Yep.
But from the time I was, his assassination, I always knew I had to go. But at first it wasn't anything. Jesse Jackson and a lot of the other civil rights leaders, fought to turn it into a museum because it wasn't like that for a long time. And but when I did find out that they had turned that into that, and that day when we got there, I looked up and I saw that wreath, and I could just feel Dr. King. I could just feel his presence from the moment I stepped in there. And then when we went up and went in his room, I really felt Dr. King. You could just feel it. You said yourself that you could feel his presence.
Yeah, and that's weird because remember we went to Elvis's at the mansion, Graceland. We went in his house, and we still said we felt something. Especially when I said when I go in the jungle room, when I went in there, that's when I felt it the most for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Just saw something. I don't know what it was. I just felt different in that room than I did in any part of the house. And I felt different on that balcony than I did in any part of that museum. And it was a completely different. These are two men who died, who were well known. Some of them, anybody sees a picture of Elvis or Martin Luther King, you know who they are. I don't care where you're at in the world, you know. Right. But the reaction of being in those rooms, were the feeling of it was completely different. Martin Luther King's feeling felt different than the Elvis feeling, which was weird to me. And when we went across the street to where James Earl Ray's room was, that felt different, even though he didn't. That's a different type of feeling. That's an emotional feeling, but it came off of being able to look across the street at where he shot at. And I remember you when you went into the when we went across the street. Why don't you tell everybody kind of how you felt about looking at his point of view, James Earl Ray?
Oh yeah, now that was weird because I really wasn't expecting that. That they even had his room. I had heard about Dr. King and his hotel room, but that was really unexpected. And I didn't know what to think about James Earl Ray at that moment. You know what I mean? I really didn't. I mean, just looking at his room, and I just couldn't figure out what would make him want to do what he did. It was just with his room. I didn't have any kind of emotion. It was just like, I don't understand what you were doing and why you did what you did. And looking at his room, and he was, right across the street, and then it showed, where he did have a perfect view of Dr. King, and I just thought, I don't hate him. I just didn't quite collect on my feelings about him. I don't know what I feel about James Earl Ray.
Yeah, and I thought that was weird too, because even though at the History Museum, it was weird how much we didn't know about that museum.
Yeah.
And on across the street, like I didn't know what to expect. Because we were really going just to see the balcony, Yeah. The Black History Museum is in there, and I mean, we spent a lot of time in there. We spent hours in that place. Spent almost the whole day, longer than we thought we were going to do. I think they said that the tour was like a few hours long, and we spent well over the time that they said it was.
We were in there about 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, we were in there forever, and
one long time. Yeah.
And I remember, for those of you listening, the artifacts of James Earl Ray, they actually have the stuff in his room. They actually have like underwear was in there, and they actually have the bullet that from Dr. King was in there.
I was getting ready to say that. That's what shocked me. I just didn't think they would have that. But they had the bullet that they removed from Dr. King. And it's just it's a feeling that, each person would have to go themselves and see, experience it, because it was something else. It really was. I wasn't expecting that.
What else was in there that was cool that I liked was the way that they do time periods, but you got to see all of that. Just standing in a room with all the slavery artifacts, just showing how it all started, and the whole museum just leads you up to the pinnacle of that death of Martin Luther King. And I thought they tied that in well, because they know most people are coming to that place to see the Lorraine Motel. More than the Black History. So I thought that they could have put the museum in a better place, because it's connected to something that almost everybody, if you care about this kind of stuff, you need to go see that motel.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's like, well, let's put this back here behind it and teach them how did we get to this point.
Right. And they did a good job.
They did an amazing job, and they keep it current. And where I'm getting at with this, that Barack Obama's in that museum.
Yeah.
They keep expanding on Black history. It didn't stop at Martin Luther King. They continued it beyond it. Once you go past this room, there's more stuff.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And I was blown away by that place, and I want to go back down there again. I think that's something, because my son being interracial, I think I want him to see it, to see where his grandmother came from and where his dad came from. And I was looking back on it. I was born in 1979, and the assassination happened in 68. it's harder for me to even believe that happened 11 years before I was born.
Oh, yeah.
To me, that seems like it happened 20 years before I was born, and it's not even a decade.
I hadn't thought of it like that. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I was just thinking about that today, and I'm thinking, my goodness, I mean, that happened with basically very close to my generation. Closer than looking back on it, closer than I thought.
But it seems so long because, for one, when I went down there, I didn't think you really would be interested in that, really. But I was hoping that you would go with me, but I really didn't think you would have any interest too much in. You know, you knew about Martin Luther King and assassination, but I didn't think you would want to go through all of that. You know, go through his room and then go to over there with James Earl Ray. But you did. You seemed to enjoy the whole experience, and I was glad.
I was glad to do it because you have always wanted to go down there, and to me, I don't think I would have appreciated it as much 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I think I appreciate it now because I'm close to 40. I'm close to halfway through my life, and I'm do a lot of thinking. You know, the older you get, you do a lot more thinking. And the fact that, you know, I'm married to a white woman who's half German. I have you know, my son's black and white. He's interracial. And what Martin Luther King wanted was that dream. And we talked about this before. I feel like I'm living a little small version of what he wanted.
Yeah.
He wanted everybody to see each other as human beings and create human beings, no matter what color you were. So that's why I wanted to go, because I wanted to know what it felt like to stand in a room, and when he got killed, he was fighting for something, and there's a man standing in that room that is living what he wanted to happen. Now, I mean, things aren't perfect, obviously. Sometimes I feel like we're regressing in this country when it comes to that, obviously. But, you know, we got a lot. There's times where I feel like him and Malcolm X died in vain because there's certain parts of this country that seem like they don't get it, and it's never going to change.
Yeah.
And I hate to see that. That's why I'm like, well, if my little family helps Dr. King, if he's looking around like, you know, did it matter? Did my death matter? There are people out there, families out there where it does matter.
It does. It does matter.
Die for nothing. Even if it's my little family, we are trying. There's just a lot of people out there who don't want us to even try.
Right. No, he didn't die in vain. That's I always say that. And today, Angie came, when she got off early, she wanted to hear the speech. I have a dream speech. I listen to it every time, you know, every birthday, every year. I listen to it. But he didn't die in vain. And I thank him so much because he did, the little time he was here, Martin Luther King was a very young man when he got killed. He was only 38. So, you know, and he started when he was like 24, all this, you know. Martin Luther King was a very smart man. He was before his time. He didn't have to do what he did. So, he didn't die in vain, and I thank him every day because he did arouse the people's consciousness and let them know, well, you know, that it can't be this way. You know, you can't judge people, like he said, by the color of their skin, you know what I mean? You know, can we all live together? And, you know, we wouldn't be, you know, like you and I went to one of those places where they had the counter, that restaurant for the people who were sitting at that counter and integrated that counter. You know, all of that, you know, Martin Luther King and what he preached and said every day. I mean, you wouldn't be married to a white woman because that used to be against the law, you know what I mean? So he changed a lot. He changed it. And not just for blacks. Martin Luther King was for whites too, if they believed in the same thing, you know, if they believed in equality and justice. He didn't care whether you were white or black, as long as you believed in justice for everyone, equality for everyone, black or white.
Well, thank you, Mama, for your help with this video, because I don't think I could have made this Lorraine Motel Black History Museum video without you, because you were there with me, and I wouldn't have went without you because it was you had been planning it for years. So thank you for your commentary.
Oh, well, I hope so. I hope it helped.
Say goodbye to the fine folks.
Goodbye, everybody, everyone.
Okay, the interview's over. Mom, that was terrible. I'm joking. You did a great job. I'm going to start calling asking you some more questions.
No.
I'm I'm gonna be called every time there's something about. I'm not joking. You did a good. Look at you, Miss. Oh, Miss Rita just went all in, talking like a.
I want to give a very special thanks to my mother for adding her experience into this video, and I thought it would make for better commentary than me just talking about what you saw in the photos, because to be honest, you can't really express anything. This is something you need to go experience for yourself. The Black History Museum is something you have to go see for yourself, experience for yourself, as well as the Lorraine Motel. Those are things, pictures do not do it justice. Other people's stories do not do it justice. You have to go see it for yourself and experience it for yourself truly. But I hope that the photos, and they were all taken in the order of how the tour would go. That's why I didn't kind of put them in the right places where we would talk. I took him and put him up exactly the way that the video, that if you was going to take video, the progression of the photos were exactly how the tour goes. That's exactly the route you take. They were all in order, and I hope that came across. Kind of give you just a little brief, quick walkthrough. But that'll do it for this video. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Get knighted, and I hope this was something informative for people who didn't know anything about the Lorraine Motel and the Black History Museum. Hopefully this was something that got you maybe interested in going to see it yourself. And that was the purpose of it. And also to say a very big thank you to Dr. Martin Luther King, one of my favorite people who have ever walked this earth. So that'll do it for this one. I'll see you guys on the next one. Be you and be genuine, but above all, be safe. See you guys next time. Take care.